As of today, the United States is going to war with Venezuela. However, President Trump made it very clear that's not entirely accurate. But why would he say that when all signs point to the United States and Venezuela going to war? Well, I'm going to explain that in today's video because today we learned the United States sent B-1 bombers near Venezuela. We are ramping up pressure on Venezuela. Some people say this is for a regime change. Others say this is to show that we are serious about Venezuela stopping the narcotics that are coming into the United States. Whatever way you think, really, honestly, doesn't matter. But the United States is continuing to ramp up this military pressure. I want to read a little bit of this article to you. But look at this right here. This is the big one. Okay, it says update. This is earlier today. Update. 2 U.S. B-1B Lancer nuclear bombers flew a Caribbean combat patrol today, entering Venezuela's ADIZ and nearing within 80 kilometers of the coast, briefly switching off transponders in a strike simulation. What's interesting about this, okay, and I'll read the rest of this in just a moment. What's interesting, according to military experts, they are saying that this is likely just a test run of how a strike would play out. But what President Trump says, and I'll get to that in a moment, is very important. Let's finish reading this. It says this mission follows earlier B-52 and F-35 flights over Venezuela this month as President Trump demands dictator Maduro steps down. Okay, now here's where things are getting very interesting, and this is where the United States needs to be on high alert because Venezuela knows that the United States is coming. They just don't know when. They don't know how this attack is going to play out. But according to military experts or former military personnel, they are saying the United States is not going to put boots on the ground. So what Venezuela is doing right now is they're lining their borders with missiles. I want to show you something though. Look at this right here. This is from Maduro just the other day. It says Venezuela declares 5,000 IGLAS missiles in nationwide defense net to deter U.S. Caribbean flights. Essentially what they're doing is Venezuela is telling the United States, if you continue to operate in this fashion, and if one of your planes enters into Venezuelan airspace, we will shoot them down. Let me read this to you. It says right here, Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro said his forces have at least 5,000 Russian-made Escalates man-portal surface-to-air missiles, or SAMs, across the country, framing them as a counterbalance to expanded U.S. operations near the Caribbean. The claim revives debate over regional airspace risk and the growing density of Venezuela's layered air defense network. It says, on the 23rd of October 2025, Nicolas Maduro publicly claimed his forces have no fewer than 5,000 Russian-made man-portal surface-to-air missiles positioned nationwide. Is the United States concerned, though? According to reports, no. And according to multiple U.S. officials, that the United States is not going to just fly into Venezuela and drop troops or put troops right on the coast. That's not what they do. And according to former military personnel, they're saying that no, what the United States would likely do, and they already have the military equipment in place, they just use a missile, a cruise missile, and they would hit all these different sites that currently have surface-to-air missiles and the machinery and the systems. That's what they're going to do to pretty much decapitate you right there, and then the U.S. could come in. I want to play you something though, okay? I want to show you this, okay? Because President Trump reacted to the report of the U.S. sending 2 B-1 bombers to Venezuela. Listen to what he says, but at the same time, Okay, listen to the question. Listen to this right here.
President, thank you. Good to see you. If I could just ask both of you, including Secretary Hexeth, there's reporting the U.S. just sent B-1 bombers near Venezuela to ramp up some military pressure there. Is that accurate, and can you tell us more about that?
So she said that to ramp up military pressure. Is that accurate? Listen to what President Trump had to say. Listen to this right here.
No,
mission?
it's not accurate. No, it's false. But we're not happy with Venezuela for a lot of reasons, drugs being one of them, but also they've been sending their prisoners into our country for years under the Biden administration. Not anymore. We have a closed border. We had actually nobody for the last 4 months, I guess 5 months. They say they report nothing. They report zero. I don't know if that can be possible, but we'll accept it, right, fella?
Okay. I want to go back and play this part right here, her question, okay? And then we're going to talk about it.
If I could just ask both of you, including Secretary Hexeth, there's reporting the U.S. just sent B-1 bombers near Venezuela to ramp up some military pressure there.
To ramp up military pressure, okay? She said, is that accurate? He says no, okay? They are false. Because according to multiple experts, the reason why President Trump likely answered this in this way, because again, we saw them, okay? Look at this. This is what we are seeing right here. We see this where they have their transponder on for a short time. Then they turn it off. Okay? That's what's interesting about this. So we've already seen the B-1 bombers in the area. So President Trump coming out and saying, no, this is false. What President Trump is trying to do is first off, de-escalate the potential situation that we put ourselves in. Because are we trying to ramp up pressure on Venezuela? Well, we're not trying to start a war, but essentially what we're doing, if all of a sudden Nicolas Maduro sees U.S. military jets or a bomber in the area in Venezuelan airspace, and then he goes out and uses one of the missiles to knock it out of the sky, we'd be at war. Okay? We would be an all-out war. I want to show you something. Look at this right here. Okay? It says Venezuela begins deployment of the Bach M2E surface-to-air missile systems and the Zu-23-2 anti-aircraft guns along Caribbean Sea border. Okay, you can see it right here. I believe a lot of the equipment that they have, though, is decades old. Okay, decades old. They're using some outdated military equipment. The United States, we've been pushing billions of dollars into our military. This is where the United States stands out amongst everybody. Okay? Nobody can hold a candle to the United States military. And we've done that for, well, a good reason. But I want to read something to you. Okay? I want to read a little bit of this right here. Look at this right here. It says, publicly known Russian shoulder-fired systems in Venezuelan service center on the 9K338 Igla S, whatever. The missile uses a dual-band infrared seeker intended to reject flares and can engage targets between roughly 500 meter and 6 kilometers in range and up to about 3.5 kilometers in altitude, according to this person. Says Reuters previously reported in 2017 that a Venezuelan military document listed 5,000 Russian-made man-pads, underscoring how today's claims align with earlier indications of a very large stockpile of regional standards. Open source assessments also note the continued presence of Sweden's RBS-70s as a non-Russian laser beam riding complement in Venezuelan units. Okay. So, again, what we are seeing right now is Venezuela does have some equipment, but the equipment that they have is likely dated. That, I think, according to reports, is what the United States is banking on. Now, did they get some type of stockpile from Russia or from China or from someone else? Possibly. But again, the United States, and this is where some are saying that this is why President Trump authorized CIA action in Venezuela, is to determine what does Venezuela have that we do not currently know about. And if it is something that could knock our bombers out of the sky, well, we need to pretty much figure that out as soon as possible. And according to a report I was reading just this afternoon, what President Trump is doing, or what Pete Hegseth is doing, is he is testing the response of Venezuela. How quickly can they scramble fighter jets? How quickly can they get their surface-to-air missiles ready to go? According to reports, that Venezuela is prepared because they do not know when the United States is going to strike, but they have very good indication and clear intel that says the U.S. will strike Venezuela at some point. Again, I don't know when that's going to be. I'm just a guy on YouTube. I wish I could give you more information and tell you this is going to happen on this date, but that is information we just do not have at this time. According to some reports, the United States is likely not going to strike Venezuela yet, but we are still within that window because keep in mind, about a week and a half ago or 2 weeks ago, we learned the United States would likely strike within 2 to 3 weeks of that first report. We're still within that window. So we'll see if this happens over the next several days, but as we get information on this, I promise I'll bring you all the latest news and updates as soon as we get them. As of today, that is what we know. So again, thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.